Kaimere is a distant planet. It is defined by waves of life brought from Earth and set free to evolve independently in this new context. The indigenous life of the planet, swarms of microbes called magic by the people who live there, are what harvest Earth organisms and make copies on Kaimere. As the asteroid which concluded the Mesozoic never struck Kaimere, dinosaurs remain the dominant terrestrial megafauna.
The vast seagrass meadows that cover the sandy floor between the great continents of Arvel and Ni'Khar support a tremendous diversity of life. It is most famous for its large grazers, including hippo-like beasts, marine sloths, several species of sea cow, and the enormous whale-like multituberculate called the Chimeran leviathan. However, perhaps the strangest of these grazers is the subject of today's episode. The Shearflank, Kaimere's largest trilobite. The Shearflank is a tondiolatid, a clade of plumicodon trilobites. This lineage is best represented in the known world by the dozens of species of colorful reef trilobites, arthroplumids. Plumicodon trilobites are often distinguished by their ornate tail fans stemming from their caudal region, but their more significant diagnostic trait is the first pair of legs and gills that are integrated into a complex feeding apparatus. In reef trilobites, this apparatus helps them scrape algae off the nooks and crannies in reefs. For the tondiolatids, it helps them process seagrass. Their first pair of legs are modified as pedipalps, superficially similar to the arms of praying mantis. They are very strong, and the sharp, serrated edges both grip and slice grass before sending it into the mouth. The gills of these first legs are modified as filters to brush along the grass to ensure sediment is largely kept out of the mouth and only seagrass goes in. It is believed the gills also take in oxygen while feeding, helping them respirate while stationary. With this apparatus, they can quickly mow rows through the abundant and fast-growing meadows. The Shearflank is the last member of its family in the known world. The centipede-reminiscent tondiolatids were generally small but quite diverse and abundant during the Tyrant dynasty. Their entire known world representation was wiped out 15 million years ago during the dynastic extinction. It was only when the inland sea formed 8 million years ago that they returned from northern waters. These new migrants were around a foot long. They were already herbivorous, specialized in seagrass. As their favored food spread throughout the inland sea, becoming the dominant biome in the seaway by 6 million years ago, the Shearflank grew larger. Tondiolatus appears to have evolved around this time. Not long after, the tremendous abundance of their perfect context permitted an ever-increasing size, culminating in the modern species, which can reach 4 meters in their largest individuals, though most adults are between 2 and 3 meters. The western shearflank, found in the mangroves and shallow seaways of western Arvel, is generally a meter long in their largest specimens, though most adults are smaller. The other species in this clade, found in the realms beyond the known world, are generally under half a meter in length, most only a few inches long. It appears the tremendous size this species is known for is not representative of the clade, but merely the result of the perfect conditions in the inland sea, and they could not exist without it. Not only is the food of the seagrass meadows necessary for their survival, it also seems this context is important to their respiration. Trilobite gills stem from the base of their legs. The motion of their legs, pulling oxygenated water over the gills, makes for an efficient system that powers their legs the more they move. Shearflank can sometimes take a while to start moving if they've been stationary for a while, but they can demonstrate surprising endurance once they get going. They require highly oxygenated water to breathe this way though, so it's unlikely they could survive in deeper waters even if there was seagrass present. Their long bodies are more mobile than those of most trilobites. Though they cannot swim in open water for long, it has been documented. They're able to curl up, but the shape of their bodies means that's not much benefit for security, as their thorax is far too long to assume the classic rolled-up defense. Their lateral turning far exceeds other trilobites, however. This, rather than curling up, is their primary defense. The blade-like pleural spines are oriented in such a way that they shear against one another when the animal curls from left or right. This gives the animal their name. Not only does this act sharpen the edges of the pleural spines as the animal turns, it means a fast snap in either direction can cut with considerable force. Feet and hands have been partially or completely severed by swimmers that got too close. This formidable defense, however, is the privilege of adults. This is a surprisingly fast-growing animal. In their first year, they are not in an adult morph, instead having just a cephalon, a single thorax segment, and a tail. In this year, they have fairly soft shells and grow rapidly. Their second to third or fourth year is spent in rapid successions of molt and growth, adding segments to the thorax in the interim. Because there's barely a seasonal change in the Tracheium seaway, and their food is abundant year-round, they can maintain this perpetual state of extremely demanding change. It generally takes between 2 weeks and 2 months for the shell to harden after a molt, a window in which they are vulnerable, so want to hide, but they are also very hungry and need to feed, taking advantage of this softness. Often their shell has only hardened for a few weeks before they begin the process of the next shed in their cycle. Mortality is high in these first years. Growth slows around their 5th year, when most are between 15 and 20 segments in their thorax and a length generally around 3 meters. From then, their shedding only occurs once every few years, and they can often afford to spend much of that time hiding. Average lifespan is assumed to be around 8 to 10 years, though specimens as old as 50 and nearly 5 meters long have been confirmed by assembly naturalists. Adults have little to fear from most predators, but young, especially those in their molt, are prey to any number of predators in the inland sea. Only a tiny fraction of young reach their 5th year when mortality rates plummet. Fortunately, females lay thousands of eggs each year, and the species is of no concern for extinction. However, like many residents of the vast meadows of the inland sea, they are inextricably specialized to this habitat. In its absence, the shearflank and many of its neighbors would no doubt be doomed to a swift extinction. Cheers to Ian for sponsoring this episode. The Siren Lord also added to the budget to include some other species within the clade and a bit more on its natural history, which I very much appreciate. The Shearflank is based on Arthropleura, a large carboniferous millipede. Its defense was inspired by a snake toy I had as a kid that pinched my fingers when it curled to either side. As with my other Trilobite episodes this year, I owe great thanks to the Museum of the Earth. Their specimens for reference and staff for questions was an invaluable resource. The Museum of the Earth is facing hard times and has had to downsize a lot of the aspects of their operations in order to compensate. Direct donations go a long way in keeping priceless educational organizations like this one going. I've seen a change.org site going around, and while the awareness is good, donations to that only spread the word. They don't actually fund the museum. I've included a link here and in the description of the video if you want to more directly contribute to the museum. Thank you so much for bringing me to 15,000 subscribers. I began this channel to promote Kaimere and my books. I didn't think it would go very far, and certainly never imagined it would become a cornerstone of my creative work. Thanks to this channel, I've been able to quit my day job and make writing stories and developing this world my full-time career. To offer my thanks, I've scheduled a Q&A live stream. We'll be on Saturday the 15th to celebrate this milestone. This live stream won't be a fundraiser. I will encourage donations to the Museum of the Earth and will include the link to the donation page in the live stream, but I don't think me doing a live stream fundraiser would actually help them very efficiently. If you paid me to pay them, that means PayPal shaves some off the top, and even more so if the payment was through YouTube. You're much better off directly contributing to the museum. This live stream will be a Q&A starting at noon Eastern Standard Time, shortly after my Pearl Bug Saturday episode, which will air the same day at 10. Live stream will likely go for an hour or two depending on how many questions we get. Super chats are ever appreciated, but I'll try to answer everyone's questions regardless of payment. As is the nature of these live streams, I won't have my notes with me, so I can't say I'll be able to give everything a perfect answer, but I'll do my best and will of course post it to view later so you can still watch if you miss the stream. Thanks again to Ian, the Siren Lord, to my new and most generous Patreon patrons for your support, and thank you for watching. That's all for today. Stay fantastic, everyone. Cheers, folks!